All right, let's dive straight into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a highly volatile, completely fragmented audio clip to figure out exactly how everyday, heated conversations can just instantly devolve into absolute chaos. I mean, we've all witnessed or maybe even been a part of arguments that spiral out of control so fast that the original point is just totally lost in the noise. It's a deeply human experience, honestly. One minute you're trying to make a solid point, and the next you're literally just throwing words at a wall hoping something sticks. So we're going to map the fascinating anatomy of one of these outbursts, looking at how language completely breaks down under pressure and what it actually reveals about the way our brains process overwhelming frustration.
To start, just think about the sheer absurdity of this pivot. We're plunging directly into the middle of an intense, aggressive argument that suddenly, and bizarrely, shifts to someone standing at a wedding. The guy standing at the wedding, sit down. One moment it's pure hostility, and the next, it's micromanaging a guest's posture. It's wild. But this is a perfect example of how rage completely fractures our train of thought. When adrenaline floods your system, your brain's ability to hold on to a linear narrative just evaporates. We go from throwing verbal punches to suddenly acting like an incredibly angry event coordinator. It's jarring, for sure, but it's an absolutely brilliant window into the mechanics of a derailed mind.
Section 1. The volatile opening. Anchoring anger with names.
To understand the actual method to this madness, we really need to look at how the speaker anchors their raw anger right out of the gate. Before we even get to that sudden wedding distraction, the argument starts at an absolute boiling point. The speaker opens by neutrally invoking the name of the Prime Minister, Modi, which is then immediately paired with an aggressive expletive. Now, looking strictly at the mechanics of the language here as impartial observers, this sets a really shocking baseline for the emotional volatility that follows. It's explosive, it's loud, and it instantly establishes this tone of extreme aggression without clearly stating what the actual problem even is.
And this brilliantly illustrates what we call a rhetorical anchor. Have you ever stubbed your toe so painfully that you yelled out the name of a famous person or some grand historical event just to give your pain some extra weight? Well, that's exactly what's happening right here. Invoking a major political figure in this moment isn't about actual politics. The speaker isn't debating policy or national affairs, not at all. Instead, they're borrowing the massive national scale of that name to amplify a street-level, deeply personal frustration. It's basically a linguistic shortcut to make their own anger feel larger, more significant, and a whole lot harder for the listener to ignore.
Section 2. Politics meets grievance. The collision of two worlds.
When we contrast these two concepts, the grand invocation of a national leader against totally mundane local wedding etiquette, it perfectly highlights the severe psychological whiplash happening inside the speaker's brain. Why exactly does the brain do this? Well, during a massive adrenaline spike, our contextual awareness gets completely scrambled. The brain is firing on all cylinders, frantically scanning the immediate environment for a tangible target to project its anger onto. So, desperately jumping from national politics to some random guy standing up at a wedding in the exact same breath, that shows a mind totally overwhelmed by its own chemistry, aiming at absolutely everything and nothing all at once.
Section 3. The wedding distraction. Situational absurdity.
Right in the heat of throwing heavy insults, the speaker gets entirely distracted by someone's posture at an event. They literally interrupt their own tirade to yell, "The one who stands at the wedding, sit down." It injects this sudden, almost comedic situational absurdity right into the middle of the rage. Just think about how funny that actually is. You're so mad you can barely see straight, but somehow you still have the bandwidth to aggressively enforce seating arrangements. The brain is just so overloaded with stress hormones that it hyperfixates on a random visual input, completely diffusing the threat of the previous sentence.
Let's break down just the first 12 seconds of this audio so we can truly appreciate the incredible speed at which the speaker's mental state fractures. Right at second 1, we have blind, explosive anger. Then, just 4 seconds later by second 5, total visual distraction. By second 8, that morphs into disorganized frustration. And finally, by second 12, it becomes a direct, simple demand. Taking a moment to walk through this timeline proves that unchecked anger really isn't a single sustained emotion at all. It's a rapid, chaotic cascade that's incredibly difficult for the human body to actually sustain for more than just a few fleeting seconds.
Section 4. Chaos and repetition. The breakdown of logic.
Without context, these fragmented, rapid-fire instructions make absolutely no logical sense. Go outside applied 4 times there, maybe. I mean, what was applied? Who exactly is supposed to be going outside? The grammar is completely broken, the subjects are entirely missing, and the logic? It's just gone.
At this stage of an argument, the words themselves aren't meant to convey actual information anymore. Instead, they're acting purely as a physical release valve for the escalating tension in the speaker's body. The brain is quite literally just dumping words out of the mouth to vent that internal pressure.
Section 5. The final demand. A desperate plea to be heard.
When you strip away the political name-dropping, the heavy profanity, and the absurd wedding distractions, this single sentence reveals everything. Hey, will you be quiet or not listen to me? This shows us that the speaker's ultimate, desperate goal isn't to debate or to manage wedding guests or even to throw insults. It's simply to force the other person to stop talking and just listen. It's a fundamental, almost vulnerable human plea for acknowledgement buried deep under incredibly thick layers of chaotic rage.
Now, think about the sensory overwhelm being projected onto the listener here. Sit down. Don't come to me. Go outside. Be quiet. Listen to me. The listener is just being bombarded with impossible, conflicting instructions in a matter of seconds. It completely shuts down any chance of a productive conversation because the target of this anger is trapped in an unwinnable verbal maze. Their nervous system is just trying to process the sheer volume of commands, which makes actual active listening literally impossible.
Looking at the sheer chaos of this entire interaction, we're left with a vital question about human connection. This explainer shows that underneath the loudest, most chaotic outbursts is usually just a desperate desire to be heard and understood. Yet, paradoxically, that desire gets hidden behind fragmented, aggressive words that guarantee absolutely nobody is truly listening. So when our words become this scrambled by rage, is communication actually happening, or are we just making noise? It's definitely something to think about the next time you find yourself in a heated exchange. Thanks for joining me to deconstruct this fascinating clip.